Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host Owen James, channel that brings you all your latest Rangers news, guys. We've got a bit to talk about this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, depends, of course, when you're catching the latest video. We're going to talk Theo Asgard, as it's been talked about and rumoured now by even club partners that this is at the advanced stage and there are talks ongoing with the player. We're going to talk about Jigba, the Wolves player, as well, and the fact that, again, talks are intensifying there. We'll obviously touch on Connor Cody, which is another one, and that's pretty much it, I think, for this video. I've got a couple of other videos I need to bring out later on, and I'm slightly concerned about one of the signings. I watched a podcast last night from his parent club, from his previous club. Sorry, I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll park that for the moment. Right, look, let's talk Theo Asgard, shall we? Look, this is a very exciting player. This is a player who, is one I think that'll get the juices flowing. He is. It seems a very, very highly thought of and very, very highly regarded player, Theo Asgard. He's currently with Luton Town. Obviously, Luton have been relegated to the EFL League One, and he's looking to move away from Luton. Listening to a couple of Luton fans speaking on a Luton podcast, it seems that the Norwegian international manager has very much kind of said to him, "Look, if you want to play international football still, and he has obviously done that, then you need to." Then you need to obviously move on, and you need to get back into a higher league and a higher competition. So that's why obviously this talk of Rangers and the fact obviously that we play in Europe as well will stand him in good stead, and obviously is a very attractive proposition to him, and I think obviously will help with his international aspirations. And you look at the current Norway international side, and obviously like I said, he's been told that if he wants to stay in that Norwegian international team, he needs to play at a higher level than League One in England. And like I said, you look at the players that are in that squad, and there's some very, very good footballers within that Norwegian international squad. I mean, I think for a long time Norwegian football was kind of a bit of an afterthought. I think, we go back to that shock 1-1 draw back in Graham Taylor's time when was it Kjetil Rekdal scored against England. But this is a very different Norwegian team now. The most of the players play in the top leagues around Europe. Christopher Ayer, one of the top defenders, plays for Brentford in the English Premier League. Not just that, but you've also got Ryerson, who's another very, very highly thought of defender at Borussia Dortmund. You've got Pedersen, who plays in Italy for Torino. And then you go into their midfield, and again, there's some players in that midfield that you look at and you just think, yeah, they're good footballers. Sander Verge, who is currently with Fulham in the Premier League. Martin Odegaard, who plays for and captains Arsenal. Obviously, as well, you've got in that team Antonio Nusa, who is with RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga, and obviously plays a lot of time in Europe. You've got Schledrup, who plays for Benfica. You've got the amazingly named Oscar Bob, which I think is a fantastic name for a footballer, who is with Manchester City. And you look at their strikers, of course, they've got Sorloth, who is, again, a very talented player, plays for Atletico Madrid. I think, scored back-to-back hat-tricks in La Liga. But not just him, you've also got Strand Larsen, who plays for Wolves in the Premier League. And not just him, but you've got a man with the most amazing goal-scoring record at international level. He has 43 caps and 42 goals. Erling Haaland. So this is a strong Norwegian team now, and if he wants to stay in it, Theo Asgard, he needs to play at a level where he'll be tested, he'll be pushed, which is what we can offer him in Europe. In a successful team, which again is what Rangers will be next season, and we know that they will be competing at the top of the league in Scotland. Playing for a manager who plays a good style of football, which is what obviously the international manager wants to see. So these are all the reasons why, of course, Asgard to Rangers makes all the sense in the world. Like I said yesterday on the video, yes, he's born in Liverpool, but he is Norwegian because of his parents. One parent is Norwegian, one parent is French. But hey, you can't hold that against him. Let's have a little look at his career. Teams in England. That's all his experience comes in England. You may look at that and go, oh God, look, it's all League One and Championship again. But like I said, this is a very exciting signing. This is a player who international level. Like I said, he's playing and starting for Norway, who are a very strong international team. This is a guy who is very, very highly thought of. So, this is not some championship level duffer. This is not some EFL League One duffer. This is a decent player. This is a good footballer. You know, like I said, let's just look at his stats, and then we'll look at a bit about how he plays and the type of player that he is. He's made 163 appearances for Wigan, where he scored 30 goals and 11 assists. So he chips in with his goals from midfield. 41 goal contributions in 163 games. With Luton, he's made 17 appearances, 2 goals, 1 assist in a struggling team. He's played in League One. He's played in the Championship. He's played in the FA Cup, the EFL Trophy, the EFL Cup, and the FA Youth Cup. So obviously he's played in some of the stronger competitions in England. The FA Cup, obviously, 10 appearances there, 6 goals, 1 assist in the FA Cup, pretty impressive. And in the Championship, 58 appearances, 5 goals, 2 assists for Theo at that level. So, in terms of the type of player, we'll look at his internationals in a minute, but in terms of the type of player that Theo Asgard is, he is a technically very skilled and very gifted attacking midfield player. So he's someone who would fit into that 10 role that we currently really don't. Yes, we've got Lyle Cameron, but as we know, Lyle Cameron can play as an 8. Martin does like to use a couple of 2 8s sometimes in his formations, in his shapes. You see, that's positive. You've got Bayrami, who I think is a player that is on his way out of the club. So you've got a few gaps there that need to be addressed, and I think Asgard is someone who will address that gap. He's known for his ability to create and score goals. He can play as a 10, he can play as an 8, or he can even play on the left wing. So he's again one of those modern hybrid players who can play in a number of different positions, which is excellent, very, very good indeed. Like I say, his strengths are his technical ability. He's technically very, very good. His versatility is that he can play in multiple positions. He has the ability to score goals, to create chances. He has experience in both the English Championship and League One. There's some good qualities there, some very, very good qualities. Now, it's rumoured that he was signed for £3 million by Luton on a multi-year contract. Now, the rumour is that the fee could be as much as £5 million for Theo Asgard. Now, yes, in the grand scheme of things, when you consider that, say, Florian Wirtz went for 150 million to Liverpool, that's not a lot of money for an attacking midfield player, £5 million. But in our league, for us at this stage, it is a decent sum of money for a player. And like I said, this is not just me talking about this. This was 4 Lads talking about this. This was Rangers Review talking about this. This is Heart and Hand talking about this. These are the club partners talking about this player and the fact that these negotiations are at an advanced stage at this moment in time. So it does look like this one is a very, very strong possibility, and certainly someone who has been very heavily linked with the club. Like I mentioned earlier, he has got Norwegian international experience. He's played 1 game. He scored 1 goal. So he scored on his debut. He also made 11 appearances, scoring 2 goals for the under-21s. He's played at under-20 level, under-16 level. Like I said, he is someone who is very much in his international manager's thoughts. He is someone who is very highly thought of by his international manager. So this is a good footballer, and this is a very exciting signing. If it was to come off, I do think that this would be a very, very good player for Rangers to bring in. I did see someone mischievously call him the Norwegian Todd Cantwell earlier. I don't think he's quite got the personality of Todd. Those of you worrying about an Instagram repeat from Mr. Cantwell, although I do go say I did love Todd Cantwell. I did really like Todd. I'd bring Todd back. I'd have Todd back tomorrow. I really would. But yeah, Theo Asgard looks like an exciting player. Sounds like an exciting player. And like I said, this is a situation where we're looking at these talks being at an advanced stage. Like I said earlier to you, this is club partners reporting this. This is Rangers Review. Rangers Review tweeted earlier on, Rangers are in advanced talks to bring Luton midfielder Theo Asgard to Ibrox. So there you go. That's an update there. And like I said, this looks a good football, and hopefully that bit of a breakdown on him has given you a bit of a whet appetite towards him, and whetted your appetite towards him, and sort of showing you that we would be getting a very good footballer in Theo Asgard. Right, look, the other one that we seem to be pushing for is the The deal for Nasser Djiga, the central defender from Wolves. Now, it's thought that even with the signing of Emmanuel Fernandez, even with the signing of Nasser Djiga, this will not stop a move for Connor Cody. Rangers are continuing their efforts to bring the experienced defender from Leicester to Glasgow. So, that's another one, hopefully, that will be got over the line soon. So it does seem that there's a real push to bring in players quickly, to get players into the squad, and get the players settled in, developed and ready to go ahead of that Champions League game. If you've looked and you've watched some of the training ground videos, the football looks good. It's quick, it's fast, it's exciting, and the aggression of the press is very good indeed. And I think, Rangers off the ball will be a very different beast this season to how they were last season, so definitely one worth watching. But like I said, it does seem there's a real push. Obviously, we've brought in Aarons, we've brought in Cameron, we've brought in Rothwell, we've brought in Fernandez. It now seems that it's Asgard, Djiga, Cody. These are all players that we're looking to really kind of push through. Now, still no word on the strikers. I think, like I said to you on a previous video, I think in terms of the strikers, a lot depends on what happens with Dessers and Hamza. There is reports coming out of France tonight that Hamza has pretty much signed with Lille. It's just a case of Rangers agreeing a final fee with Lille. One of the targets that we were interested in, Matteo Freegan, he has gone to Hull City in the English Championship, so he is now officially off Rangers' radar as he is gone. Dor Turgeman obviously now seems to be the prime candidate. Hopefully that's not one that we're going to miss out of, because of the fact that we can't get this Dessers deal and this Hamza deal done as soon as is possible. Hopefully the Hamza one is delayed a bit more. We can keep him for a bit longer and we can get rid of Cyril Dessers ASAP. But in terms of this Nasser, came to Wolves from Red Star in Belgrade in the Serbian league, where he made 56 appearances, 4 goals, 3 assists. Had time in Switzerland as well with FC Basel, who are one of the top teams in Switzerland. A team that has also got a very good European pedigree as well. This is the Basel are no mugs. They certainly are no mugs. So good things. Nîmes Olympique in France, 21 appearances, and he's made 6 appearances, obviously, for Wolves as well. And it appears this is a serious push on this one. Like I said, centre back wise, what do we know about him? That he's strong. He plays on the front foot. He has style. He has pace. And obviously, pace is a big one. Rangers did seem to really be lacking pace last season, and Djiga has a lot of pace apparently. He's obviously, like I said, he's a new addition to the Premier League, so we don't know a lot about his Premier League. Now, in terms of his style, he's aggressive as well in the challenge. He likes to get in there, get in the faces of the opposition, really get into them and really get stuck in as well. So he's not afraid of a nice, strong tackle. He's also very good in the air. His aerial duels are very good indeed. He's also known as a ball-playing centre-half, so again, you can see why he's a player that's attracting Russell Martin. Because he's a player who can get involved in the build-up play. He plays progressive passes. He has progressive carries. All things, that will help in terms of breaking down that low block. The centre-backs playing those balls out accurately through the lines will help. The centre-halves bringing the ball out, pulling people from midfield up to come and tackle them, create space in behind. He is very passionate as well about defending. He's in the same way that you see some players that are so passionate about getting forward, about scoring goals. He's very passionate about defending, about stopping goals. That's what he seems to be, very, very much into. He has the potential to really be, I think, a very good player, and I think that's why Wolves don't want to sell him. They want to kind of develop him and give him a chance to develop, and they see sending him out on loan as a real positive, and obviously a chance to develop and get the best out of him. And I think he's certainly a player that Rangers appear to be interested in, and I think we'll look to perhaps do a deal with Wolves on this one. in terms of his tackles, he's ranked in the 88th percentile amongst other defenders, so he's ranked very, very highly. He is ranked in the 95th percentile for take-ons as well as a centre-back. So there's a lot of positives there. He's certainly not the finished article. Again, he's someone that needs to be coached, needs to be developed. But, if this is a case that we could say bring in Cody, we've obviously got Fernandez, we've got Suter, we've got Nsiala, we've got Djiga. I think, that probably means that Davis and Proper are on their way and will be sold this summer if possible. I think obviously there is rumours of Birmingham being in for Davis. There's rumours obviously of Twente coming back in for Proper. It does seem that is very much on the cards, and that we are looking at sort of that core. Djiga obviously would go at the end of the season, but you'd still have Nsiala, you'd still have Fernandez. You'd still obviously have Suter at the club. You'd still have Connor Cody at the club. You'd have a good experience core there. And I think that would give us a really good experience core to our defence and some really good mix of youth and experience there, which is definitely what we need. And we've all talked, haven't we, about building from the back. And I think it's clear that Martin and Thelwell and Purdy are trying to do that, with the signing of Max Owens, with the signing of Emmanuel Fernandez, with the move for Connor Cody, with the move for Djiga, with this move for Max Owens as well. Obviously, there's a lot of time going into that defence, and people talk about obviously Jack Butland is a bit of a letdown there, but apparently Jack's looking pretty confident in training again. He was even doing rondos the other day, improving his footwork, so he's working really hard as well. So there's a lot of positives coming out of training, and there's a lot of positives coming out of the club at the moment, and some very interesting links and some very interesting signings. And like I said, I think we're probably looking at hopefully getting in at least another 3 or 4 players before the Panathinaikos game. I don't think a striker's realistic, like I said, unless something gets done on the Dessers and Hamza front. But I do think, Cody, Djiga and Asgard are all very much realistic propositions for Rangers going forward. And like I said, they're players that excite me. They really are players that excite me. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on Theo Asgard, on Djiga and on Connor Cody. Let me know in the comments. Guys, it's been a pleasure speaking to you as always here on Glasgow Rangers Nation. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share and subscribe. And remember always, we are the people.